Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thousands of years ago, people looked at the world with curiosity. They watched the stars, rivers, plants, animals, and the changing seasons. While many believed natural events were caused by gods or magic, one man dared to ask a different question. Instead of accepting old stories, he searched for logical answers. That man was Thales of Miletus, often considered the world's first scientist. Thales was born around 624 BC in the ancient Greek city of Miletus, located in what is now modern-day Turkey. He lived in a time when knowledge was passed down through myths and legends. But Thales believed that nature followed rules that people could discover through observation and reasoning. This simple idea changed human history forever. As a young man, Thales traveled to Egypt and Babylon, where he learned mathematics, astronomy, and engineering from some of the greatest civilizations of his time. Instead of keeping this knowledge to himself, he brought it back to Greece and improved upon it with his own ideas. One of Thales' greatest achievements was predicting a solar eclipse that occurred in 585 BC. Historians believe this prediction shocked the ancient world because people thought eclipses were supernatural events. Whether his prediction was perfectly accurate or based on careful observation, it showed that nature could be understood through patterns rather than fear. Thales also made important discoveries in mathematics. He developed ideas about geometry that are still taught in schools today. One famous theorem named after him explains how angles and triangles work. His work laid the foundation for future mathematicians like Pythagoras and Euclid. But mathematics was only one part of his curiosity. Thales studied magnets, electricity, water, weather, and the earth itself. He noticed that rubbing amber could attract small objects, making one of the earliest recorded observations of static electricity. Perhaps his most famous idea was that water was the basic substance of everything. Today, scientists know this theory is incorrect. However, what made Thales extraordinary was not whether he was always right. It was his willingness to explain the natural world using evidence and logic instead of myths. This was a revolutionary way of thinking. His ideas inspired generations of philosophers and scientists. Great thinkers such as Anaximander, Aristotle, and many others built upon the path he started. Without Thales, the development of science might have taken a very different direction. Imagine living in a world where lightning, earthquakes, and eclipses were believed to be messages from angry gods. Thales challenged those beliefs by asking simple but powerful questions. Why does this happen? Can it be explained? Can it be observed? Those questions became the foundation of the scientific method used today. Although the word scientist did not exist during his lifetime, historians often describe Thales as the first true scientist because he searched for natural explanations instead of supernatural ones. His curiosity changed the way humans understood the universe. More than 2,600 years later, modern science has transformed our world with medicine, space exploration, computers, and artificial intelligence. Every scientific discovery can trace its roots back to one simple idea: observe, question, and think logically. That idea began with pioneers like Thales of Miletus. The story of Thales reminds us that every great discovery starts with curiosity. One person asking one question can change the future of humanity forever. His legacy continues to inspire scientists around the world, proving that the desire to understand nature is one of humanity's greatest strengths. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the origins of science, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more fascinating stories from history. See you in the next video. Even as a child, Thales was fascinated by the world around him. While others accepted stories without question, he wanted to know how things truly worked. He would spend hours watching the movement of the sun across the sky, studying the moon at night, and observing the waves crashing against the shore. Every sunrise, every storm, and every changing season filled him with new questions. In ancient times, there were no laboratories, no telescopes, and no scientific books. There were no universities where students could learn physics or chemistry. Everything had to be discovered through careful observation and experience. This made the work of Thales even more remarkable because he relied only on his eyes, his mind, and his determination to understand nature. As he grew older, Thales became known as a traveler. He visited Egypt, where he learned advanced mathematics from Egyptian scholars. The Egyptians had already mastered geometry because they needed it to rebuild farmland after the Nile River flooded each year. Thales carefully studied their methods and realized that mathematics could explain many things in nature. One famous story tells how Thales measured the height of the Great Pyramid without climbing it. Instead of using ropes or ladders, he waited until the sun created shadows. By comparing the shadow of the pyramid with the shadow of a stick of known height, he calculated the pyramid's height using geometry. Whether every detail of this story is true or not, it shows how people admired his intelligence and practical thinking. Thales also became interested in the stars. Ancient sailors depended on the night sky to navigate across the sea, and Thales carefully studied the positions of stars and constellations. His observations helped improve navigation, making sea travel safer for merchants and explorers. One of the greatest events associated with Thales was the solar eclipse of 585 BC. According to ancient historians, he predicted that the sun would suddenly disappear during the day. When the eclipse happened, people were terrified. Many believed the gods were angry. But for Thales, it was another example that nature followed predictable patterns. This event became legendary because it demonstrated that careful observation could reveal the hidden order of the universe. Instead of fearing the unknown, Thales encouraged people to study it. Unlike many thinkers of his time, Thales believed that every natural event had a natural cause. Rain, wind, earthquakes, and eclipses did not happen because of magical forces. They happened because nature followed its own rules. This single idea became one of the greatest turning points in human history. Of course, not every idea proposed by Thales was correct. He believed that water was the origin of all matter and that the earth floated on water. Modern science has proven these ideas wrong. However, science is not about always being correct. Science is about asking questions, testing ideas, and improving knowledge over time. In that sense, Thales succeeded brilliantly. His influence spread across ancient Greece. Young thinkers traveled long distances to hear his ideas. Among them was Anaximander, who would later become one of the first people to suggest that life evolved gradually from simpler forms. This showed how one curious mind inspired another. Over the centuries, the tradition started by Thales continued to grow. Philosophers questioned the nature of matter. Mathematicians developed new theories. Astronomers mapped the heavens. Engineers designed incredible machines. Doctors searched for natural cures instead of magical rituals. Each generation built upon the work of those who came before. Centuries later, famous scientists such as Galileo, Isaac Newton, Charles Darwin, Albert Einstein, and many others transformed humanity's understanding of the universe. Although they lived thousands of years after Thales, they all shared one important principle with him: never stop asking questions. Today, modern science explores distant galaxies, studies tiny atoms, creates life-saving medicines, and sends spacecraft beyond our solar system. Every scientific achievement begins with curiosity, the same curiosity that inspired Thales more than 2,600 years ago. His life teaches us that changing the world does not always require expensive equipment or advanced technology. Sometimes, all it takes is the courage to ask why and the patience to search for the answer. The legacy of Thales of Miletus reminds us that knowledge grows one question at a time. His ideas became the first spark of a journey that continues today in every laboratory, every observatory, every classroom, and every place where people seek to understand the universe. The world's first scientist may not have known how far his ideas would travel. He could never have imagined satellites orbiting Earth, robots exploring Mars, or telescopes capturing images of distant galaxies. Yet the spirit behind all these discoveries is the same spirit that lived inside him: a deep curiosity about the world and an unwavering belief that nature can be understood through reason and observation. And that is why, after more than 26 centuries, the name Thales of Miletus is still remembered as one of the greatest pioneers in the history of human civilization.